Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. I started off my day with a little air guitar and singing into my rolled up AARP magazine. And I was playing with the dogs. They love it. The dogs love when I turn on some music and sing to them and dance around the room. So this time I actually recorded myself and I posted it on Facebook and on YouTube. And I really did it because I wanted people to see that recovery can be fun. It's all about what we decide to do. It's so crazy to me how we can wake up in a bad mood, or choose to think about something or obsess about something or want something rather than just choosing to be where we are, choosing to accept what we have and know that like what I have and who I am is enough. And all of that happens between my ears. It's really amazing to me how I have, for the first half of my life, I was building this environment around me just up here in my head. I was building this perspective of missing out, of not having enough. And so that's what I want to talk about today. And to do that, I asked Chatty, for those of you who are lifetime listeners, you know who I'm talking about. Those of you who are not, I'm talking about ChatGPT. So I asked Chatty research online to provide insight on how it is in the absence of wanting that we find peace. Um, so this is an idea, of course, that was in my morning meetings, and it is from the Calm app for today. It's about fear of missing out. So the first thing that I thought of was when my kids were younger, I was given a bonus at work. And I decided that we were going to go to the mall. It was about the time that we needed to get school closed anyway. And I decided we're going to go to the mall and we're going to pretend to be rich for a day. And so the kids were allowed to buy whatever they wanted. And of course, they did a really good job. I mean, they were still very conscientious of cost and everything. And but it was fun. It was fun. Was it responsible? No, it wasn't responsible of me to do that. What I should have been doing is putting that money in a savings account or something. But it's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to provide for my kids for once. I wanted to give them whatever they wanted. And I think I was really looking at things so wrong back then. Obviously, I was looking at things so wrong back then. That's when I was still drinking. I hadn't reached my low. I wasn't even nearly close to reaching my low yet. But I feel like when I was drinking, there was a lot of wanting. I think I spent a lot of my life wanting, whether it was wanting material things like bringing my kids to the mall and being rich for a day, or wanting something I don't have on the inside. Um, I never looked at myself and actually had peace. Never. I never had peace where I thought I have everything I could ever want. And I don't mean that just materialistically. I mean, everything on the inside, I'm surrounded by love. Like, we never stopped to look at that. I was always wanting. So this this idea of and somebody else in my meeting this morning mentioned replacing the word wanting with waiting. And I think it fits as well that in the absence of wanting, we find peace. So I asked Chatty what there was on the internet about that. And what Chatty came back to me with was about how this concept of peace arising from um, cessation of desire or cessation of wanting um, is where we find peace. And that this concept is in various spiritual traditions and philosophical um, mindsets. So, one that it talked about was Buddhism. And yes, I know that I should double check everything that Chatty says, but I feel like it's fine if I tell you this is what Chatty told me. If it's something that I think is just a bunch of BS, then I'll typically look it up. But as you know, um, I have difficulty browsing the internet, so I really rely on ChatGPT for my disability to be able to give me information um, in the same way that I would be able to do if I didn't have this disability with my head and my eyes. So I am actually using ChatGPT in a different sense than I think a lot of people do. Um, so it talked about the cessation of desire related to Buddhism, and it kept saying the word craving and how cessation of suffering is achievable through renouncing of craving. That Buddhism teaches that desire and attachment are the primary sources of human suffering. And it's when we can break free from this cycle of craving that we find inner peace. And I thought, this is my sobriety. This is what one of the major pieces of sobriety is to be able to break free from that craving. And for me, it was like, which came first, the breaking free from the craving or seeking the peace? Like, I think they happened at the same time. Um, and I guess that falls in line with this. Like, I found inner peace when that cycle of craving came to a halt. Like, like, but it took a lot of work behind that. It took a lot of maintenance to keep that peace. Because I feel like I could not practice the program in all of my affairs, and I can lose peace. I can lose that soundness of mind, the serenity. And then in turn, it may lead to me craving a drink. So I don't believe that right when I feel a lack of inner peace, I'm going to go drink again or I'm going to start craving. But I could not find inner peace when I was still craving, period. Um, I did not have soundness of mind when my mind was constantly obsessing about alcohol. And even today, when I get upset about something and I lose that soundness of mind, that is me obsessing about something else. It's wanting a resolution for something. So I think when I say wanting, it's not being satisfied with a circumstance that I'm in. So then it went on to Chatty, it's a he, that's his pronoun. Chatty talked about the Hindu philosophy, and how it's very much the same. Like, um, detachment is when we are able to find peace. Like, detachment from the material world is that where we find an internal state of mind where we can be fulfilled and happy. So if we are always wanting in our family life and in our career, we are falling away from fulfillment and happiness. Um, it talked about having more of a balanced approach in order to have inner peace. Then there's this stoicism thing. Okay, I have recently, over the past few years, heard a lot about stoicism. I don't know anything about it other than what I keep hearing from people in my sobriety network. It came out of nowhere, really. I mean, it just so happens that I think there's one dude who is into reading about stoicism, and then since he talked about it so much, there's other folks that are listening to readings and philosophy insights on stoicism. But what it teaches is that peace of mind is achieved by cultivating detachment again and focusing on what's within our control. What does that sound like? That is also the sobriety program. It's the serenity prayer, it's about paying attention to what I can control, what I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And by accepting the impermanence of things, um, we become more accepting of the present and what we have. Refraining from excessive desires is what it says. So Stoics believe that virtue is the only true good and that external possessions or achievements are indifferent. So by aligning one's desires with reason and nature and practicing detachment, one can attain inner peace, like detach from that which is outside of ourselves in order to find inner peace. Um, all of these really seem to align with each other. They just are using different words to say the same thing. That's what I feel like. Modern psychological perspectives recognize the benefit of reducing excessive desires and attachments, encouraging people to be mindful. And mindful is really looking inward, same thing, leading to emotional regulation and well being. That constantly striving for materialistic uh, things lead to dissatisfaction and stress. Like always wanting something that you can't is going to lead to stress. So by embracing satisfaction with what you have, that's where you find sense of peace. So I thought that that was interesting just to see an alignment between all of these different things and these different philosophies and spiritual uh, whatevers. I love how I can just say whatever I want here. So then I was thinking of, so a lot of that aligned with my sobriety. So I was thinking, like, how does this align with my stroke recovery? Because that's what I need to do. I need to practice these principles in all of my affairs. And stroke recovery is part of my affairs. So when I was really struggling a year and a half ago, when I first started this podcast, I was wanting to be in a different situation. I didn't want, obviously, to have had a stroke. I didn't want to have to leave my job. Um, I didn't want to miss out on work. I didn't want to miss out on the, what I think of it is, I used to say to my boss that, so I was planning on retiring from that company. And like I wanted to stay there until my retirement, I should say. I did retire from the company. But I used to say, I'm not going anywhere because I want to see how the story ends. Because there's so much drama, at your job and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to go anywhere. Like, I want to see what happens next. So he used to laugh at me when I said that. But when I had to medically retire, and again, I can't wait for the day when I say I got to medically retired. I'm not there yet. But when I had to, I was thinking about all of that effort that I had put into my role in that story, my role in pushing the progress of the company forward. And if I left, I wasn't going to get to see what happened next. I was going to miss out. Everybody else got to stay, and I had to leave. And I felt like I was going to be disconnected from that point on. I wasn't going to have the same beautiful relationships that I had before I left. Um, and that made me think this morning, like, there is a relationship between loneliness and the fear of missing out, FOMO. Um, I believe that. And when I left from that job, I felt lonely. I didn't realize that until today, that some of that sadness was related to just pure loneliness, which is connected to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That I was losing one of the vital vital needs that I have as a human being, and that was to be a part of something bigger than myself, to be a part of a community. And I had been a part of that community, that business, for about 8 years. Um, and during the time that I was a part of that community, I still had this endless feed of wants, this endless feed of waiting for the next better thing to happen. Or, it was like I was always wanting, or like somebody said this morning, waiting for the next better thing to happen to me. So I was never sitting in peace. I was always sitting in wanting. I felt rewarded when I achieved any goals that I had, but I was still always focusing on what I didn't have. always. I talked yesterday, I mentioned that I have a tendency to shoot for perfection so that my trajectory um, lands me at a destination that is better than it could have been if I shot for something less than perfect. And I was thinking about that this morning. I'm bothered by that because in my program, I learned that it's progress, not perfection. And I've heard over and over again, like, we're not perfect. We need to celebrate small things and not beat ourselves up, be gentle with ourselves and stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm really questioning, is it okay that I shoot for perfect? I don't know. We have to figure that out together. And I'm sure that I'll keep bringing it up until I figure out what's right for me. Um, but it's like that vision of perfect that I have is where I have everything I want. If I look at it from the perspective of wanting or fear of missing out, uh, then I'm always going to live in a state of wanting. And if that's true, according to all of these philosophies, I will not have peace of mind. Um, and that's an interesting thought because um, I'll never reach 100% satisfaction if I keep that mindset. So honestly, I'm not coming to a conclusion today, as you can see. What I'm doing is just kind of tossing that question out there. Um, think about what your goals look like. And if you shoot for more than what you can achieve, and does that leave you with a sense of wanting? The story that I want to listen to the story that I'm telling myself. Am I viewing my ordinary moments in life with acceptance and gratitude? I can say that. So let's look at it from this perspective. So I want to write a book. Um, I am challenged to do this because of my disability, but I'm still going to do it. I want to do it. Okay. So I'm in a state of wanting. And I'm slowly chipping away at it. So it's providing me with a goal, something to look forward to, something to have a passion about, to have purpose. This morning, in this state of wanting, because that's always going to sit there, right? That goal and that work progress towards that goal is always going to sit there. Yet this morning, I rolled up my AARP magazine and was playing air guitar and singing to my dogs in a perfect state of acceptance and gratitude and happiness and serenity and peace. That's what I felt like. There was nothing bothering me while I was singing to the dogs. Nothing. Um, what am I doing differently in times that I have a goal, like writing a book, and times that I don't have a goal, like writing a book? What am I doing differently? I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer, but there's something different that happens on the inside because I feel fulfillment when I have something that I'm working towards. Um, I don't feel like I have achieved my full potential yet. And I desire to continue to work towards that. think about this is a podcast episode with no conclusions. It's with no conclusions. That's fine, right? I'm human. What are you doing differently in times where you have feel like you have purpose and in times when you feel like you don't? I can tell you that if I did not have a goal today that I was working towards, I would not have felt as happy this morning. I would have been in a state of wanting. That's interesting. I would have wanted to have a goal and a purpose if I didn't have goal and purpose. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. So when I feel like I have purpose, that my mindset is focused on solutions instead of problems. There is this shift within me where um, I feel that little tinge of depression when I don't have some sort of purpose that I'm working towards. Another thing that came up today was about uh, comparing ourselves to other people and wanting what other people have. I don't feel that I do that as much as I used to when I was younger. I think it's because just through experience getting older that I know what looks perfect on the outside is always not perfect on the inside, meaning a relationship, somebody's beautiful house, whatever people have, whatever things look to be like on the outside, it's never what it is on the inside. So I am learning how to in my 50s look at other people as a watcher, like learn how to be a watcher and not a wanter. Are they carrying themselves in a way that they are spiritually fit? Do they look like they are doing the work on the inside? Because I want to learn from them how to do that. Instead of wanting, I want to do consistent work towards the promises that I learn in the program. So those are all my thoughts about it. I do believe that I've seen in my recovery how when I pass that point of craving, that is exactly where I started to get to have an understanding of serenity, to know serenity. I couldn't feel that without coming to a point where I've addressed what's going on the inside and I don't want for anything. Um, I find a place where I can sit exactly where I am and be happy and accept what I have. And then in stroke recovery, it's it's a progressive situation for me, but I am definitely starting to experience acceptance and gratitude for what I have, despite what I have experienced. And and that's where my peace is starting to trickle in to my life. So I'm just gonna keep working in that direction, and I just know that things are okay. It's all work between my ears that needs to be done, and I'm just going to keep on coming back and working on it. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.